of those trades craftspeople, right? Yeah. And so here comes, Ryan Sargent, an up and coming kid out of high school, eager to learn. Now you got a business. What would you say to people that are thinking about, hey, I don't know if I should go to college after high school. Should I go into the trades? What would you tell them?
So if you're in high school right now and you're looking at it, like, I don't know what to do with my life. Everybody's telling me to go to college. Mm-hmm. Just sign up for a class at MTech. You know what I mean? I mean, you can take a class. I mean, and you can sign up, and then if it's not for you, you can just quit. Like, hey, this isn't for me. Yeah. But the awesome thing about MTech is they have so many classes there. I'm not caught up with how many classes they have now, but when I was there, it was electrical, carpentry, and welding, like you were saying. Yeah. And so if you don't like electrical, go to plumbing. And it's just a room down the hall. You can go try.
I love it. And just like you were.
Positively West Virginia is powered by Breezeline high-speed fiber internet and sponsored by Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Key of Morgantown, Interaction Media, and Storymaker. With the help of these sponsors, we are able to share the positive business stories of West Virginians, including the one featured in today's episode.
Folks, we're visiting today with Ryan Sargent. Ryan is the owner and operator of JRS Heating and Cooling. Ryan, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for the opportunity to be here today.
Yeah, man, you're from Morgantown right here in West Virginia. I'm glad to have you in the studio and excited to learn more about your business. Ryan, take a few moments and just tell us a little bit about JRS Heating and Cooling.
So JRS Heating and Cooling is a name says it all. It's a heating and cooling company in Morgantown and Fairmont areas. And we mainly specialize in residential areas and a little bit of light commercial.
Yeah, that's great. Ryan, I'm curious, you're a young guy, you own your own company in the trades, right? We hear a lot of news about that these days and the demand for young people, especially getting into the trades. How did you get started with JRS Heating and Cooling?
So it started back in high school where I was a senior in high school and I thought I was going to be an electrician. Didn't know anything about heating and cooling, just thought I was going to be an electrician. Yeah. And actually took a class at MTech for a year there.
Right here in Montague County.
Yes. Yep. And so went through there. It was a great class, learned a lot. Went ahead and signed up. I graduated high school. I thought I was going to an electrician, so I went to Clarksburg to sign up at the Union Hall, and waited for them to call my name. And I got a letter in the mail, and I opened it up, and it says, "Thank you, but you're denied. You didn't get accepted." So I was like, "Okay." And
the door shut.
Yeah, the right in your face, man. I mean, it slammed right in my face.
Yeah. How'd that feel?
It didn't feel good. I still your stomach sinks. You get that weird feeling. Yeah. But it was a good feeling. I didn't know it at the time, though. I didn't know it was leading me another direction. So
talk about that.
So I applied to a couple places here in town. I was able to get a job here at PWV Medicine, maintenance. And again, I thought I was still going to be an electrician.
This is just out of high school?
Just out of high school. I think I was 19 years old at the time.
Yep.
And so I start there. I worked there a couple months, and I walk into a mechanical room, and there's a guy working on a copper line, brazing it with a flame, and I saw a flame and a torch, and I thought, well, that's pretty cool. I said, you're inside of a building. I said, you got a flame, and I'm a kid. Kids, we love playing with fire and stuff like that. And I was like, I get paid to do it, and so needless that I know how that would change my whole life. That whole 30 seconds of me walking in a room,
and seeing a guy brazing a copper pipe with a torch.
Yeah. Yeah,
and that's refrigeration, basically.
And that's what he was doing. He was working on a refrigerator at the time. Yeah. And so I didn't know anything about refrigeration other than I opened the door and my drink's cold. So that's all I knew at the time.
You didn't know behind the scenes what it takes.
Absolutely, I knew nothing. I knew nothing about really heating and cooling. Yeah. And so luckily he was a good mentor to me. Really poured into me, taught me a lot. He spent his time teaching me things and stuff like that. And then eventually he ended up retiring. And I didn't want to lose what I learned because there was nobody else there that was really doing refrigeration. Yeah. And so I went around to local HVAC companies and I actually went and knocked on their actual physical door and just said, hey, I'm looking for a heating and cooling job.
Yeah, and you're working full-time at WV Medicine.
Yeah, I was still full-time at
maintenance.
The hospital. Yeah.
And so in your spare time, you're out knocking on doors for other HVAC companies saying, hey, can you give this guy a job? I want to learn and I want to practice my skills.
Yeah. So I told him what I was doing. Like I didn't really want to leave my job. Yeah. But I wanted to learn more about it. And some people didn't really like that idea. If you're you're coming here to learn, and you're just going to leave us. But there was one company in town that actually took me in, worked with my schedule.
Took a risk on you.
He took a risk on me, yeah. And like I told him, I didn't know how to wire up a thermostat at the time. Like how to wire up a thermostat. I just knew how to work on refrigerators.
Yeah.
And so it was a risk, but I worked for them for a couple years. Learned a lot of what to do and how to do it. And then I slowly started just buying tools and just slowly started taking customers on a little bit at a time. And it just kept growing. And then it actually got kind of busy. And my wife, she was like 8 months pregnant, and kind of made the decision to make the jump and to start a business. Because
how did that conversation go?
So it was a long one, but it was a good one. And but we sat and talked about it. And like I say, I was doing a lot of stuff. I was still raising cattle, working at the hospital, and doing HVAC. So I was doing like 3 jobs.
Oh my lands!
And like I say, I had a kid on the way, and she's like, "You got to make a decision." She says, "You can't do all this, and we're starting a family."
Yep.
And I'm like, "Okay." So I was actually, I think it was night shift. I was sitting at the hospital. I was 25 years old or 24, I can't remember.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What if at 34?" I'm still sitting here and thinking, like, what if I would have left and tried something? Would I have a location? Would I have a store? Would I have 10 employees? Would I have 20 employees?
You were dreaming kind of in a way. Like
yeah.
Your future, you're thinking about your future 10 years from now.
10 years from now. And then I was like, but what if I'm at 34, 35 and thinking back to what if I would have took that jump at 24, 25 years old?
Yeah.
And so I said, let's try it. What's to lose? I mean, worst case scenario, I'll go get another job somewhere and stuff. So that's where it all kind of started.
Yeah, I love that story. And in a sense, Ryan, you bet on yourself.
And I think it's the hardest thing with people is to truly like we'll invest in the stock market, we'll invest in somebody else,
but you invested in yourself.
We'll never invest in ourselves, and that's really hard to do. Like the person that pays the most dividends is yourself because you can count on yourself to do it.
Absolutely.
That was a hard thing for me to do.
And truthfully, to expand what you just said, your greatest wealth building tool in life is yourself, your ability to earn money. Yeah. A paycheck, right?
Yeah, because you can work more, work less.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I talk about a lot on this show is that, we hear a lot of young people like yourself who leave the state of West Virginia saying, I can't find any jobs here. I don't have opportunity. But sometimes you have to make your own opportunity like you're doing right now.
Yep.
I think that's amazing, and that's why I celebrate entrepreneurship and business owners, people that want to take a little bit of a risk and bet on themselves. And honestly, I'm inspired by that. Speaking of inspiration, what you mentioned your mentor, kind of teaching you a little bit about the refrigeration, and you had this other mentor that steps in and says, "Yeah, I'll take a risk and I'll hire you part-time, even though you're working at the hospital." And how important was that in your journey?
So finding the right mentor is a huge deal, and it's not an easy thing to do. I was lucky, just to stumble across somebody, but it's hard to find somebody that truly wants to help you or pour into you. Like that's a hard person to find. But having the right mentor could either make you or break you. It really could. I've had great mentors, and I had some mentors that kind of misled me down different paths that wasn't a wrong path, but it wasn't the path that I really wanted to go.
Yeah, that's very wise insight, and I appreciate you sharing that. Ryan, what's your 30-second pitch when you meet somebody for the first time and you say, "Hey, nice to meet you. What do you do?" What do you tell them?
So we are a heating and cooling company that we strive to bring comfort, but also just the right service for our heating and cooling needs.
JRS, just the right service. Is that how you came up with that?
Yeah. So again, that was another a night shift. I was sitting there trying to think of a name, and it's hard to think of a name for your business. It really is and stuff. But came across it and a little slogan with it.
I love it. Yeah, that's great. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back.
Your prescriptions are designed to keep you healthy, active, full of life. At Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're making vital medicine more affordable. Because when your prescriptions don't cost an arm and a leg, you can use those limbs for something more meaningful. Because life. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, West Virginia.
At Freedom Kia, you'll find the perfect ride and savings for your summer adventures. This summer, dive into savings and fun. Just down the road is the Aquatic Center at Milan Park, where you can cool off and have some fun.
Find what you have been searching for in the 2024 Kia Telluride right now at Freedom Kia of Morgantown. Qualified buyers can save $2,500 on the 2024 Kia Telluride. For your next new Kia, look no further than Freedom Kia exit I-79, exit 153, Morgantown.
And we're back. We're visiting with Ryan Sargent. He is with JRS Heating and Cooling, the owner, the founder, the operator. Ryan, what would you say is the thing you're most excited about for JRS Heating and Cooling right now?
So really the future, because the world's a possibility right now, because we're starting out, and there's a lot of opportunity out there, and especially like you mentioned earlier with like blue collar workers and stuff. And there's I think there's a lot of people out there that do great work every day. It's just, how do you find them? Kind of thing.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because you went to MTech, and that is the technical high school here in Montague County. Across every county and state of West Virginia has something like that, right? A program, and teaching the trades. I think, whether it's welding or HVAC or plumbing or whatever it might be, I think those things are so carpentry, right? And we're having this aging out of those trades craftspeople, right? And so here comes Ryan Sargent, an up and coming kid out of high school, eager to learn. Now you got a business. What would you say to people that are thinking about, hey, I don't know if I should go to college after high school? Should I go into the trades? What would you tell them?
So if you're in high school right now and you're looking at it like, I don't know what to do with my life, everybody's telling me to go to college, just sign up for a class at MTech. You know what I mean? I mean, you can take a class. I mean, and you can sign up, and then if it's not for you, you can just quit. Like, hey, this isn't for me. But the awesome thing about MTech is they have so many classes there. I'm not caught up with how many classes they have now, but when I was there, it was electrical, carpentry, and welding, like you were saying. And so if you don't like electrical, go to plumbing. And it's just a room down the hall. You can go try.
I love it. And just like you were talking about, you walked into that refrigeration room at WV Medicine, and there's a guy, brazing a copper pipe with a blowtorch, and you just caught the fire, so to speak. No pun intended, I guess. But I think of I had a pivotal conversation like that with a mentor years ago when I was a sophomore in college, and I was ready to drop out of school, and somebody, the guy's name was Joseph Gluck here on the campus of West Virginia University, and he said, have you ever thought about a career in advertising? After I told him some of the things that I was interested in, when he said the word advertising, it was like an explosion went off. I was like, what did he just say? Advertising? That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Right. And you saw that flame and you were like, that looks awesome. I want to do that. Right. And so being exposed, your point is get exposed. Take a class, learn. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe it is.
Get out there.
Right.
Yeah. I wish, like when I was in high school, you only think there's one door. But there's 1,000 doors out there. And like, if I could tell anybody, especially like I'll speak to high school kids, like there's 1,000 doors out there for opportunity. Yeah. And you might get them slammed in your face.
Just like you did.
But there's another door there.
You got that letter from the electrical union saying, hey, you're denied. And you had that sinking feeling, but you turned it into a positive.
Yeah. Like I said at the time, it wasn't a good feeling, but I didn't know. It probably was a good decision that it went that way.
With regard to JRS Heating and Cooling, what's the geographic area that you serve?
So we mainly service Morgantown and Fairmont areas, and those are our main two areas right now that we kind of service because we are starting out, so we don't want to get too spanned out.
Well, you've been in this business about 2 years now.
About full time.
Do you have employees? Is it yourself?
So right now it's just me, and so we're trying to make it, trying to learn it and stuff.
You're working your tail off.
Yeah, and it's big. Like I don't want to hire somebody. And then because like I got to commit to their family, like I gotta pay their bills.
It's
like
a big commitment.
Yeah, so I don't take it very lightly hiring an employee. It's a big decision. Like I'm excited to make that decision here soon, I think. But it's like that's a lot of responsibility that goes on your shoulders.
That's right.
And stuff. So I don't take that very lightly when hiring.
Well,
somebody.
I think it's smart, and I see. Not just my anecdotal evidence, but you look at national statistics, you look at West Virginia statistics, and the majority of small businesses fail within the first couple of years. And there's a reason for that. They don't necessarily have a good plan. Maybe they don't have a good product or service. They don't have their problem that they're identifying and they're solving for nailed down. They grow too fast. They're over extended with debt and so forth. They don't have access to capital, et cetera. There's lots of reasons why that happens. But I think if you're able to kind of go it alone, go slow, we just talked a couple of weeks ago on a podcast episode about if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And you and I talked about that before the show, and I think there's a lot of truth in that, and I think what happens a lot of times is small businesses, especially, they're not strategic, not intentional in their growth, and that's why they fizzle out and die and close. Yeah. And I hate to see that, but I think you're doing it the right way. I think that's really cool. So you've been in the HVAC business on your own a couple years now, Ryan. What's the most interesting you've seen so far?
So the most interesting thing I've seen. Okay. There's nothing too crazy, like a crazy person. I walk into the house and there's somebody there, nothing crazy like that. But there's, I guess the most interesting thing is where people install equipment, say a furnace and something. You're like, oh, it's up that little hole. Like, how'd they even get it up there? it's like things like that, that surprise me more than anything.
Yeah, like in an attic or like even in a crawl space, that kind of thing. Yeah, you're down there and you're like, why did they do this?
Yeah, or like in a crawl space, you hear a noise. You're like, well, what was that? like is there something down here with me? And stuff like that.
That's fun. So. Yeah, that's good. I appreciate you sharing that. How do you get the word out about obviously you're a 2-year-old company. How do you get attract new customers?
So right now, I mainly just focus on word of mouth, and so that's referrals, which is honestly the best way, because you've already done work for somebody, and they're going to speak highly of you. Yeah. But that also puts a lot of responsibility on my shoulders, where I got you have to do a good job every call, because I always tell people I'm truly blessed that people even call me to work on their furnace. There's a ton of companies out there you can call, and I'm glad and fortunate that they call me to trust me to work on their house or their business, because that's your house is your biggest purchase you ever buy in your life. Yeah. And they call on us to come fix it and take care of it for them.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome, man. I appreciate that. Right now, in terms of growing the business, what's the biggest challenge you're facing? You say you want to hire somebody and all those kinds of things. What's the biggest challenge you're facing?
So the biggest challenge that I've come across in the business would probably be just getting in front of people. Yeah. And stuff like that, and going where they're looking, and because nobody wants to call an HVAC guy. Nobody ever says, "Man, I get to call my HVAC guy today because my furnace isn't working and I'm cold in my house." Yeah. So that's somewhere I'm trying to learn where to. You need to be in front of the customer when they need you, because it's never it's been 3 years, I want a new furnace. Nobody's ever trading in the furnaces for a new model.
Yeah, you wait until it's broke or not working. When you wake up and it's snowing and 20 degrees outside, and your furnace is not working, you want to call JRS Heating and Cooling, right? Yeah,
for just the right service. That's right.
Exactly. So that's a good point. I appreciate that. This is Positively West Virginia.
My name's Caitlin Furby. I'm an interior designer with Remarkable Interiors. Our time is very limited. We're trying to do everything we can possible to keep our clients' projects moving and rolling. So StoryMaker has been really great for us for putting out how to explain our company. I can sit and agonize about a post. And is this right? Does this sound good? When I use StoryMaker, it sounds so beautiful, and it was so easy, and it saves me a lot of time to do the things that I'm really good at.
Stay connected with an unbeatable deal from Breezeline. Get reliable, fiber-powered 500 megabits internet for $39.99 per month with a $100 gift card and price lock guarantee, plus a free modem, free installation, and free Wi-Fi your way. Folks, here at Interaction Media, we're a media company, and we rely on high-speed internet every single day to get our jobs done. That's why we use Breezeline. It's affordable, it's fast, and they're awesome people as well. Learn more at breezeline.com. Folks, we're visiting with Ryan Sargent. He's the owner of JRS Heating and Cooling here in West Virginia. Ryan, we've talked a lot about growth and how you grow a company. What's the long-term vision that you have for JRS Heating and Cooling?
So it's a big vision that I have for it. I really want to have 10 locations one day, kind of take over the state and maybe move somewhere else. I'm not sure on that direction. But my biggest focus I really want to do is kind of find my employees, and then kind of start a location, and then maybe have them kind of take it over, be their own boss, kind of thing. Because that's where I mean, when I was at the hospital, I thought I was going to be an entrepreneur. And I didn't know that word at the time, but I liked it. I was able to order equipment and stuff for refrigeration, and I didn't have the overhead, didn't have the expenses. I'm like, this is kind of nice. Like all the stress wasn't there. But yeah, so I think find an employee, hopefully grow that way, and truly invest in the community. Like I want to be a company where like, if we're gone, we're gone. And that's not just like we're here to take care of heating and cooling needs, but actually help the community in different needs and stuff like that. Like this year, I had the opportunity to go work at the ranch, at the boys camp on the Kingwood Pike. And
Chestnut Mountain Ranch.
Yeah. And I went up there. I wasn't even looking for a job. I was just looking to see like, hey, could I maybe one of the kids come work with me, mentor them a little bit, show them that there's a life out there where, you can work and you can have a good life and stuff like that. And then
again, talking about that vision, sharing a vision. Yep. I think that's awesome, man. So, leadership is something I like to talk about on this show. I feel like I'm a student of leadership. When I talk to young people, especially like yourself, Ryan, you're a leader. You're leading yourself, your family. You're leading your business. Even though it's just you right now, you're wanting to build this thing, and you're going to lead a team of people to greatness. I feel that. What do you think is, what do you think is the most important attribute of leadership right now?
So that's a big thing there with leadership. It's not a light thing to say. Like everybody wants to maybe be a leader. I think like wants the responsibility of leader. But somebody that I just came across was like John Maxwell, his books and stuff, and talking about leadership and things like that. And
John Maxwell is one of my favorite authors on leadership. I mean, he is the definitive, the quintessential leadership expert, in my humble opinion. He has a great saying that he says just about every time I've ever seen him speak, and he says it in his books even. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And I think that's true. I think it's true in a family. I think it's true in a business, a small business especially. Yeah. I think it's true in government. I think it's true not just federal government, local, state. We just had an election. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And I think if you have that mindset and you're investing in yourself, you're talking about reading books and really diving into expanding and investing in yourself. I think it's extremely important. Thoughts on that?
Yeah. So like I said, the best investment you can do is invest in yourself.
Yeah.
And but it's really hard to find actually a good leader in the actual workplace and stuff. Like I kind of always joke like I've seen people on what not to do kind of thing, and it's like, so I'll just do the opposite. But really it comes down to what your grandma always told you: just treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
And
the golden rule.
Yeah. It really is. So
I love it. What's one piece of advice you would give, Ryan, to a young person thinking about starting a business here in West Virginia?
So do it, but open it slowly. So like I can just tell you from my experience of keep your full-time job. Don't quit your day job, as they say. And
I like that.
So start it and get some traction with it and see if it's working. Because like, and don't leave because you're mad at your boss. And like, I'm going to go start my own business. Because that might be the worst thing you could do, because then you're kind of stranded out in no man's land. Yeah. But try it, see if it works for you, and then if it's taking off good, then go full time.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to take a leap of faith. You could take a step of faith.
Yeah.
And I think about that analogy. I've used this before, but it's like you're standing on the dock, and there's a boat there at the dock, and the boat is taking off, right? Yeah. And you know that boat's going somewhere. Do you want to stay on the dock? Do you want to stay at your job, your day job? Or do you want to jump on the boat? A lot of people want to jump on the boat, but then they don't time it right, and then they get wet. They're swimming out there in the sea. But if you do it right, like in your example, you could step onto the boat and just let that boat go until your wife says, hey, you need to either go full time with your business or stay at your job, right? Make a choice like you talked about. And then you can just step onto the boat and you're already there and it's already sailing.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a kind of a cool way of looking at it. And I love your advice. And I think that's it's really smart and a wise way to do it. Ryan, we've covered a lot in our interview today. Is there anything else you think our listeners should know about your story, your personal story, or your business story?
So this is nothing to do with my business or anything, but like go back to, there's 1,000 doors out there of opportunity.
Yeah.
And like, and it might become working for an HVAC company, or it might be just staying at your job you're at now. But just don't say no to a 30-second opportunity. Like you might, like I say, I walked into a room and I didn't know that was going to change my whole life.
Yeah, seeing that flame.
Just that flame and stuff like that. It changed my whole life. So don't say no to an opportunity. And if somebody wants to show you something, take the time to actually learn it, because it could change your whole life.
Yeah, I love it, man. That's awesome stuff. As we close out our discussion here and our time, Ryan, how can our listeners learn more about you and even perhaps get in touch with you?
So you can go on our website at JRS Heating and Cooling. There's all your information there, phone numbers, anything. If you need to get a hold of us, you can get us that way.
Yeah, it's perfect. And we'll make sure we have links to that in the show notes, and we'll publish that on social media too, so folks can, when it gets cold outside and their furnace is not working, they can call Ryan Sargent. Our guest once again today is Ryan Sargent with JRS Heating and Cooling. Ryan, it's been a great honor to have you here to learn about your entrepreneurship story and how you got started and how you're growing this business. I think what you're doing is really great, and I want to encourage you to keep up the amazing work.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me here today.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'd like to thank our partners, Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Kia of Morgantown, Interaction Media, Storymaker, and our studio sponsor, Breezeline, for helping to share these positive stories. If you'd like to become a sponsor of the Positively West Virginia podcast, visit positivelywv.com/sponsor.
Hey folks, that's a wrap on another episode of Positively West Virginia. If you or someone you know would be a great guest on the show, drop us a line on our website at positivelywv.com. And of course, we appreciate your feedback, your reviews on our podcast, and we also appreciate you sharing these great stories just like Ryan Sargent and JRS Heating and Cooling. On behalf of our entire Positively West Virginia team, including our producer today, Mr. Jimmy Murray behind the controls, I'm your host, Jim Matuga. Stay positive, West Virginia.